Jessa Smooth Yogurt comes in various flavors like vanilla, strawberry and banana. Jessa Farm Dairy. Always trusted, always delicious.
Stand up to be counted. Brought to you by UBOS. It's your right.
Census is here. Be counted. The information you give is confidential and is only used for planning, policy making, and equitable resource allocation. This leads to improved service delivery to you and your community. So, get ready to be counted. Starting from 28th August to 6th September 2014. Together we count.
Stand up to be counted. Brought to you by UBOS. It's your right.
Today's highlight.
I'm Gustavo Brandao. I'm rich. I'm a millionaire. I'm rich.
Just because you're rich, you shouldn't say that. You don't know what might happen tomorrow. One day you're on the top, the next, only God knows.
I don't want you to hurt Gustavo.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no problem.
Honey, don't you think this model, Natasha, don't you think she's fat? Fat?
So besides being a maid, you're a thief.
Look, you don't have the right to treat me like that, sir. Yes, I'm a maid and proud of it, but I'm not a thief. I borrowed this dress in order to do you a favor.
Today's highlight.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals setting up here.
What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week?
I say there shortly. Me, I'd be looking to sell.
At what price?
More. Much, much more.
I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
To all of you who claim to be my colleagues, it's a Friday, and at around midday, no actually, 10 a.m., I have serious web surfing and personal emailing to do, so please make sure you do not pass behind or next or around my cubicle. Thank you very much. My name is Brian Mlondo. Let's get started with the question of the day. The weather is actually not helping much. Here at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel, it is very dark. So you might be at home watching us thinking it's about 6 a.m. No, it's 7. And the day starts right here with Morning at NTV. And of course, you can feel free to go to our Facebook page, Morning at NTV, Twitter at Morning at NTV, answer that question. The first 5 respondents will walk away with a beautiful mag from Morning at NTV. And of course, SMS, the answer to 6565. Remember, the first 5 people, you have your cup. Guaranteed from us to you. And also our individual handles at MBGold2, at Mebkeb, at Kasiate, at Joel Senyonyi, at Daka Bachigongo, and at NTV Uganda. Tell your friends and also invite them to follow us and like us on those social media platforms. And I'm telling you, your Friday is never going to be the same. Now, Mabel is at our NTV studios at the International Conference Center. Mabel, I'm told that especially in media, usually people, especially government politicians, will come out and bring only the bad stories on a Friday because they know during the weekend no one will talk about it. And on Monday, they'll print or talk about the good stories because then we can talk about the good things the whole week. But Friday, everyone is just doing what they want to do, so bad stories are not even an issue. But I know one of your day jobs, you work up to 11 a.m.
I wish that were so, Brian. It's not necessarily that I work up to 11 because I go in late. I have to put in the extra hours. Well, it reminds me, after 9/11, a lady actually lost her job in the UK because the day it happened, the British government was going to release some bad news. And she said, oh, this is a good day to ban, to release this bad news. And actually her email leaked and she lost her job. So I guess we need to be careful about the bad news that we give out. Well, this is Morning at NTV. We shall continue by taking a look at the news. Uganda's Director of Interpol, Hassan Kasinje, has said the police are investigating over 63 cases of young girls being sexually exploited on the internet. Kasinje says the unsuspecting girls are asked to post their nude photos on quack websites in exchange for money. Kasinje has cautioned parents to closely monitor how their children use the internet. The police have also cautioned members of the public to be careful when buying cars via the internet.
With the increasing use of internet that is fast turning society into a global village, police warn that the web is rife with sexual abusers who target young victims.
Out of these 63 cases, we're investigating five. One has already been taken to court. I saw the images and I got Kamunguruza.
According to police, some of the fraudsters nowadays open up websites calling on girls to post their photos, promising to pay them as much as $100 each. And after posting the photos, the unsuspecting girls are asked to post their nude pictures before their money can be processed.
And lie to them that I'm sorry, somebody came and hacked into my computer and stole your naked pictures. And if you don't do something, the pictures are going to go viral.
According to Kasinje, most of the perpetrators are young public servants, IT university graduates, and other elite idlers.
What we are going to do, we are going to Skype. I want to see you. So these men sit in offices, and then they say, now I want to see this, 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 do this, do that, do that, do that, I'm interested in this.
Using the same channel, the internet, many Ugandans have been conned out of their money as they purchase cars over the net.
Ugandans buy from, you pay money, the website is closed.
Police reveals that as the rate of cybercrime grows, others are losing colossal sums of money to fraudsters who hack into their mails. In 2012, over 4 billion shillings was stolen. In 2013, the number doubled to over 8 billion, and in 2014, over 4.5 billion was stolen. The countries which are ranked highest in email hacking include China, Japan, Hong Kong, Thailand, US, Germany, Kenya, and Dubai, among others. Sudil Biarhanga, NTV.
Fabricator who was trying to smuggle a young woman into Kenya from where she would travel to Dubai for a housemaid's job. Musa Mugenyi is suspected to be part of a racket dealing in human trafficking. The arrest comes in the midst of an intensified crackdown on traffickers after the police received information that over 30 young women are seeking help to return home from Dubai, where they have been abused.
Musa Mugenyi was arrested this morning as he tried to traffic a 25-year-old woman into neighboring Kenya. By the time he was apprehended, the woman's passport had already been taken away from her.
And she's telling us that, you know, for the job she's going to do in Dubai, somebody called her from Kenya You can imagine a phone call. She doesn't know, and interviewed her.
Police say the racket is made of several people from different countries. Mugenyi admitted to police that he had helped 7 girls find their way to Dubai, and he's paid 300,000 shillings for each successful deal.
Busia and Malaba has become one of the most commonly used routes for people who want to go out through these tourism means. Although we also have some others are going through Juba, others are also going through Katuna.
The Human Anti-Trafficking Unit says that in a month they receive at least 30 cases of people yearning to return home after complaining of the abuse they are subjected to in a foreign country. It has emerged that most of the Ugandans employed as housemaids abroad in countries such as United Arab Emirates, Qatar, India, Kuwait, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, among others, end up being exploited. In 2013, a total of 837 victims of trafficking were registered, out of which 429 were victims of transnational trafficking, while 408 were trafficked internally.
The owners of Shoprite supermarket chains have denied selling bad meat following a crackdown by Kampala Capital City Authority law enforcement officers at the Shoprite store in Nalia, Kampala. On Wednesday, the KCCA officials seized decomposing meat from the store and arrested the meat center manager. But Shoprite says an investigation has been conducted and action taken against those who neglected their duties. As Maurice Ochol reports, Shoprite is committing to ensure that food quality and safety standards are upheld in all their stores.
On Wednesday, law enforcement officers of Kampala Capital City Authority shut down the meat section of Shoprite supermarket in Nalia, a Kampala suburb, for negligence. The officials picked up the manager of the meat section and seized the meat that was decomposing. KCCA officials claim that Shoprite has been selling bird meat to its customers for a while now. Head of the KCCA Veterinary Department, Dr. Martin Ahimbisiwe, told NTV that they acted on a tip-off following customer complaints.
An outcry from the public who usually visit these supermarkets, and when they buy the meat and they find it not fit for human consumption.
He explained that the KCCA Health Department routinely sensitizes supermarkets and other huge retailers of meat and consumables for health standards required.
But if we find that there is general administration failure, then we have no option other than closing that unit or revoking the license.
But corporate affairs manager of Shoprite Checkers, that runs the supermarket chain with stores across Africa, sent NTV a statement from the company headquarters in South Africa denying any wrongdoing. The meat seized by health department officials was stored in the cold room in the storage area of the store and not on offer in meat cabinets on the shop floor for our customers. The meat had reached its sell-by date and was therefore separated from the meat in the meat cabinets until it would be uplifted for destruction as per regulations. But KCCA officials insist that Shoprite violated the standards.
The temperature, the refrigeration temperature, should be below 4 degrees centigrade.
Dr. Himbisiwe stresses that the consumption of meat could cause food poisoning.
And when you eat, and the toxins can cause you to have stomach upset, and there is no way you can even treat a toxin.
Shoprite management is vying to get to the bottom of the incident. The corporate manager explained thus, Shoprite views the meat seizure in serious light and have done a full investigation to ensure that food quality and safety standards are upheld in the store. We do not compromise on customers' health and safety. Corrective action has been taken. A few weeks ago, Taskis supermarket in Bwaise, Kampala was also closed for poor hygiene.
Does it smell? Is it still having its color?
KCCA vows to continue their crackdown to save the poor from unknowingly consuming harmful foodstuffs. Maurice Ochol, NTV.
Government intends to amend the constitution to provide for a salaries review commission that will look to harmonize the salary disparities among civil servants. Prime Minister Mama Mbabazi, who is also the leader of government business in Parliament, announced the plan while appearing before the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. As Agnes Nandutu reports, the move comes amidst an outcry that whereas some government employees earn a pittance, others walk away with as much as 40 million shillings per month.
The proposed salary review commission would harmonize the salaries of all state employees to ensure that there are no wide differences in pay among people of similar rank and job roles. Prime Minister Amama Mbabazi revealed the move to MPs on the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs.
I want to give notice that we are coming up with an amendment to introduce this amendment to establish a salaries review commission constitutionally, so that the questions of salaries are sorted out once and for all.
The lawmakers had put to task the Prime Minister, who is also a leader of government business in Parliament, to explain the salary disparities in ministries, parastatals and statutory commissions.
At the same time, we have, for example, the workers of the Electoral Commission, because they are not specified officers in the law, so their salaries have not been affected by the increases in the salaries of other government workers. So since 1999,
there have been complaints by politicians and civil servants that the heads of statutory bodies like Uganda Revenue Authority, National Water and Sewage Corporation, and Kampala Capital City earn between 35 to 45 million shillings, yet others at the same rank like permanent secretaries and almost 10 times less. MPs urge that such exorbitant salaries to some civil servants kills morale and has affected the performance of other government departments. Article 85 of the Constitution gives members of Parliament the authority to determine and review their own salaries. Former Prime Minister Apollon Sibambi says this is unfair.
But my feeling was that if we had one commission to do it, it would be fair, and probably it would even give members of Parliament more money.
The legislators hope the Salaries Commission would be put in place to ensure that the salaries of teachers, medical workers and security officers is raised because they do much more work than those who sit in air-conditioned offices. Agnes Nandutu, NTV, Parliament.
Well, I'm sure that is a good story for the nurses and teachers who are known to be on the lower side of the salary scale. We now cross over to the gentlemen who have the papers. I am told the gentlemen are not ready yet for the press review that we have in today's papers. Remember, you can be a part of the show by following us on Facebook, Morning at NTV, or Twitter at Morning at NTV, or do send us an SMS 6565 as we continue to read some of your messages, and thank you for all the feedback that we have been getting on the show. We have a story from Mulago Hospital about the situation there, and I think we shall be playing it right about now.
Amounting 4.7 billion shillings in arrears raked up through illegal water connections, and the Parliament wary of Mulago Hospital's water crisis. The administrators at the National Referral Hospital found themselves subjected to an oath.
I, Dr. Biarugaba B.B., swear and affirm that the evidence I shall give.
Mulago's water woes date back to 2004. Now, Parliament has found that the Assistant Commissioner, Alison Kantarama, then the Principal Hospital Administrator, authorized Christ Our Way Church to tap water directly from the Mulago Hospital line and always offset their bills from that of the hospital.
I have said I've taken responsibility because that time the understanding was that this is a place bordering onto the hospital. There were issues of cholera and so on.
What is your relationship with one of the owners of this church? Because
I don't have any relationship.
Can I put it to you that this one was your husband?
It is not true.
Because that's why. You know.
Look. Honorable Chair, I want to. I have never even prayed in that church.
The hospital's director, Dr. Byarugaba Baterana, insists Kantarama did this behind his back.
The amount that he accrued from that authorization was 1.3 billion up for the last 10 years. It was not the church only, it was actually the whole of Butakabuchirwa and Upper Mawanda Road village.
When asked to explain why she authorized the illegal water connection, Kantarama put it to human error.
It was an error because I know that there's a whole line on which over 40 people and institutions around the campus of Mulago were connected on the hospital line.
Kantarama was also tasked to explain a daycare center established by the African Development Bank to help the hospital staff was instead charging them up to 750,000 shillings.
Members keep coming to me and telling me, of course, we do not know any other person who is now in that association other than Alison.
In lieu of the above, Mr. Chairman, I move under this rule that the witness be detained with the parliamentary police.
Already an eyesore to some members of parliament after failing to honor previous committee summons, Kantarama survived arrest after MPs agreed to give her more time to submit documents defending her stance. MPs are also considering deducting 4.7 billion shillings from the Ministry of Health budget to offset the hospital's water bills. Solomon Serwanja, NTV.
And that's the story about Mulago and its bills that they never seem to pay because so many people in the surrounding areas are using the services. This is our Facebook page. Indeed, tune into the show that doesn't sound like a lullaby every morning. Get your day started with a morning at NTV crew. We now cross over to the gentlemen Simon, Joel and Brian to find out what's making news in today's papers. Good morning, gentlemen.
Yes, good morning, Mayboy. It's a very overcast Friday morning, the 15th day of August 2014, coming to you from the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. At least where we are, it's perhaps extremely very dark. Had it not been for the white eyes and white teeth of the three gentlemen out here, perhaps you'll not be getting a very clear picture on your screen of what we're about to share with you, which is, of course, the press review section of Morning at NTV. We have the Observer, the Daily Monitor, and the Red Paper to look out for this wonderful 15th day of August 2014. And let's not forget that 15th of August is always Ascension Day, and for the life of me, every 15th of August, it has to rain, whether or not we're in the middle of the summer. I do not know whether I should start this by getting angry or spitting at somebody, but when I look at the headline of the Daily Monitor this morning, I get disgusted by the explanation being produced here by members of parliament to as if justify their absenteeism from parliament. Good morning. Welcome to NTV's press review section of Morning at NTV. My name is Simon Kasiati. I'm joined by the three gentlemen, Joel and Brian.
Whatever you do, don't spit at any of us. Let me read to you the quote of the day. This is an exculpation by one of the MPs, on why he was missing committee meetings.
What's the name of that
MP?
MP?
This is Ntenjeru South MP Patrick Nsanja. Says
Say that again. Who?
Patrick Nsanja.
Who is that again?
Who is he? He's a member of parliament representing the people of Ntenjeru South MP. Let me read to you
I will
what he
tell
said.
you, I want to claim to be at least one of the most informed people in this country. But for the life of me, over half of members of parliament, or those who claim to be members of parliament, are not known to me.
I know this particular guy, but let me read to you what he says. There was a time I was away participating in a football tournament. That's why I missed the meeting.
A football tournament?
So this Ntenjeru guy is the, that is Andy Mwesigwa?
I don't know. And there's a parliamentary football club.
He's the advisor to the technical team of the Uganda Cranes.
Geoffrey Massa?
Okay,
can you imagine Geoffrey Massa saying that he missed a crucial Cranes match because he was attending to a parliamentary
meeting or something.
In parliament, he was in the gallery. This kind of
this is Friday.
We can call it bollocks.
Absolute bollocks. This is very, very shameful. But I also want to. I've realized that this stuff they say over here, we should get even MPs and offense intended. Some of these MPs do not comprehend half of the stuff that they debate. That's why we have very diluted debate.
But what will you
because
do?
You have a person.
Stop being kind to them.
I am. I'm not being kind. That's why that's why I'm saying don't say equivalent of S6. Get someone who went to school to represent us, period.
So what is your yardstick for going to school in this case?
Brian, is that the electorate, we who elect such people, obviously we look around ourselves and we get the kind of leader that we deserve. You do not expect
the politics in Uganda is for someone who talks a lot. That's why you have the Munyagwas of this world who do not comprehend half of the budget.
Did you vote in the previous election?
If it was about talking,
no. Brian, you did not vote.
I did.
You see, that's the problem. You, the educated ones, you, the knowledgeable ones, you don't vote. So what do you expect?
It
you
is
know,
one
people
vote.
down there.
It is one vote.
No, but the point I'm making,
If
there's
you
Brian,
have,
there's several other corporates that will, you know, really get that responsibility.
People who are voting,
Brian, it's not
but
about
Brian,
talking.
for you, you don't have the moral authority to even complain. You didn't vote.
No, but even if I
did not vote,
even if I'd have voted, okay, I vote Sematimba. Then you have 10,000 people voting Sebagala. Then
but you know what?
No, but you see also Sematimba himself was alleged not to have gone to any school except Budu. Anyway, just besides that, if it's about talking, I would be representing Rujumbura County as opposed to Jim Wes.
Maybe
because I want to believe that I can speak louder than him.
But Jim Wes has more money than you. So really.
So I want you to believe that people are really
he was also in the bush.
Yeah.
You were here eating just
it's not about who speaks the most. But even for the most case, it's about who has got the most comical and nuisance factor that they bring to this August House. And I think now, you who are watching us and are not members of parliament but vote these members of parliament in, I think we should now henceforth stop blaming these members of parliament and blame ourselves for putting in place this kind of bunch of people who will forfeit a crucial parliamentary engagement for a football match. Hey, can you imagine the life?
And he has the guts to even say it in the papers.
Respectable woman Cecilia Ogwal goes ahead to say conflicting schedules, and one of the schedules is someone going to attend to a football.
Well, the opposition chief whip Cecilia Ogwal says lawmakers are assigned to 2 committees, and often the timing for the committee sittings does conflict.
What about
to cut her some slack? This is actually true, yeah. But now, exactly, that's what actually the lizard does ask. What will they blame for missing plenary? But again, even the conflicting committee issue is not for every one of them. For some, yes, but likely no.
But I think let us agree. I think for next week, whatever it is in the newspapers about members of parliament, let our viewers go and find out for themselves. Let's just leave. Because I think we waste time. I would rather...
Well, we need to tell them what their MPs are doing or not doing so that they know how better to, you know.
Let them go and find out, at least for 1 week. Let's cut ourselves some slack.
You're burning them, eh?
Yeah. I think, for me, I will. I don't know about you gentlemen, we'll talk after this show. But I think I would rather listen to artists in a drive to fight maternal health issues.
Yeah, and I see that on the top page of the Daily Monitor.
I would rather read stories in the Daily Monitor about people who cry to show how much they love others, as opposed to this kind of, you know.
Excuse me.
Those you don't have to read. You can actually ask them to give us
an
acapella.
Agree that we are not going to talk about that. Let's
for the next 1 week,
our viewers.
It's okay, we'll resume after 1 week.
Yes.
I would rather open the Daily Monitor this morning and read about a girl who's seeking help to fight a tumor. Right. This is a story you should check out and appeal to your altruistic self for you to be able to put a helping something into the basket kitty for this lady to get some treatment from this cancerous tumor.
In the red paper this morning, and the big story is Kenya at high risk of Ebola attack.
Oh, and I see Uganda government here is saying that will not be screening travelers from Kenya. Look, Kenya has many journeys, you know, courtesy of KQ from the western part of Africa. And they're saying, they're actually having trouble down there because they're saying we'll not screen everybody, etc., etc. And so if we are saying we're not going to screen them, it sounds tricky, I don't know.
Well, that's Uganda, but Kenya, of course, has decided to go on with the flights, hopefully. And they're sending 2 doctors to help out.
Now, some other not so interesting news here. KCCA closes 15 food stores over poor hygiene. I saw another high-end, food store in Kampala, and I said, wait a minute. So, where is safe meat in this country? If the likes of the other day it was Tuskys being hounded, then yesterday there were allegations that Shoprite is selling rotten meat. So I'm thinking, hey, where do we go? Should people begin, breeding their own animals? Anyway.
Well, perhaps you should be thinking about that. But you see, at the end of the day, I think we must commend KCCA for coming forward to, try to save us from this kind of situation. I mean, you have got unscrupulous members of parliament, you've got unscrupulous...
I thought we agreed not to talk about MPs again.
No, after today. Then you've got unscrupulous food vendors. I mean, at the end of the day, it is just one hell of an unscrupulous country. Then you've got newspaper headlines screaming that the president is sick and there's a sick picture of him on the headline. Where are we going to stop?
The red paper says the president is sick, and that is after returning from US. Said he was profusely coughing. And so he had to delegate the vice president to attend some of the functions over the weekend.
So that is supposed to create some sigh of relief for many of you who don't want him on the job, or to create panic from the hundreds or thousands, perhaps even millions who want him on the job.
I must commend Red Pepper, when you see the story and the picture, you obviously think such agenda.
And
well,
when you read the
when
content,
you're tired, and
when you read the
you might
content,
actually
just cough.
There you go. I'll tell you, I think I don't agree with much of what our president does do, but when I see him sick, I get worried because he's the president. So I'm thinking, what decision is he going to take? Is he fit enough to lead this country? So I get worried. Do I want him to retire in 2016? Absolutely.
Let me ask. I mean, anyway.
Please ask.
No, I understand that human nature is one that is filled with a lot of hopeful optimism. I don't know whether there's such a thing, but for someone...
I think I'm chasing a pipe dream.
It's not a dream. You are not even in a cloud. You are...
What if it does happen? What if actually the gentleman comes out and says, look, I have run my race, I've served Uganda to the best of my ability. Let me hand over the baton to somebody.
Let's put it this way. If you ever wished I was a lady, or I would one time become a lady, that wish is akin to the wish that you're having. That
really? I doubt so. I think
saying, I wish Simon would wake up one morning and he has got a ponytail and is drop dead gorgeous with voluptuous curves and all that. That is as good as that claim. I can tell you without fear of contradiction.
People thought Gaddafi would not retire. Incidentally, he didn't retire on his own volition. They didn't think Mubarak would leave. They didn't think, Amin would leave this country, for example. Some people still think he's the president of this country.
Up to the time he died.
But Gaddafi... Why are you denigrating
That's the point. But for me, I'm saying he doesn't have to go that way, and I don't think he should.
Our good president, I can tell you again, from my seer perspective, he cannot be compared to those despots that you are talking about as described by Western countries. You see, despots as described by your Western cohorts. If Libya was under a dictatorial good-for-nothing regime, thank you for the wonderful democracy that you've ushered in. For the last 3 years, we have seen nothing but a bustling metropolis that Libya is. Egypt is now a wonderful country. Perhaps it's now the proverbial Garden of Eden after the fall of Mubarak. Really?
I don't think so, by the way. Actually, they've gotten worse. They have plummeted thereafter. But for me, my point is the relationship.
This is when I feel like spitting on somebody. For anyone to claim that Libya's Muammar Gaddafi or Egypt's Mubarak were so bad that they governed their countries so badly, and now with your new form of democracy, these countries are in a
where that revolution took place.
You didn't expect that after the death of Gaddafi, Libya would all of a sudden take a bit of time.
Yes, I know.
People who are sympathizers, they defend what Gaddafi stood for.
In Libya, in Iraq, for example, we are going through a transition. So a transition must take 20 years for it to take, especially
Africa's taken 50 years. It's not a memory. It's serious.
Even now, Uganda.
If you have a cancerous tumor, and we take you for intervention in John Hopkins Hospital, and they remove it, and you come here, you went at 50 kilograms, they remove the tumor, you return because you are in the transition between the tumor's removal and your healing, and it takes you 20 years as you are degenerating from 50 kilograms, and by the time we see you 20 years down the road, you are a wobbly 15 kilograms like the time Bob Marley died. Can we really say that we thank John Hopkins for removing that tumor, yet when you had the tumor, you were able to...
The tumor was making me fat.
You would say. So clearly, I can tell you...
Really, I think our president is...
I have a feeling there was not even such a tumor per se.
So are you insinuating that we might be having a tumor as Uganda?
I am saying we do not have a tumor, and you people claim that you have a tumor in President Museveni.
No, I think the point...
Just like you and your cohorts...
So for us, we want to remove the tumor, yet...
You and your cohorts thought that Libya had a tumor, you removed it, you can now see how healing it has become. You went and hanged Saddam Hussein on Eid al-Adha. How many years ago? Over 10 years ago. And you can see that country has become, between Tigris and whatever.
I was just trying to dislodge the argument that it is an impossibility. I think it can happen. Look, our president is still a puissant man.
Just like I've told you, it is possible that I can change sex, me, Kasiata, and become a woman.
I don't know about that.
But to what extent is that feasible? That is that's why I wanted to draw that to you to understand the amount of chance you have in that happening.
It's a hard one, but not an impossibility.
Exactly,
our president is a puissant man. He's still influential, and I think that's a good time to to
live when you're still loved.
Exactly, when you're still loved, and there's
maybe
good
that
things
only
to talk
applies
about
in sport.
I can tell you, I can tell you, in our lifetime here, that man is going to be loved at least by a majority of Ugandans, whether by force or by choice.
And that's what I'm saying. That you see, the tumor in Gaddafi went, and many people that benefited from his regime still defend that, and they still want the status quo. It's the same in Egypt. Those who benefited, those who believe that, what's his name,
Hosni Mubarak.
Hosni Mubarak was the best for Egypt, are still defending that the principles that is
Okay,
so you
no,
can't just even in Iran, where the man is clearly a despot and is working on, you know that.
No, I don't.
The former president.
Who?
What's the names are so
Are you trying to talk about a guy called Ahmadinejad?
Here is the analogy.
The man was defending the production of nuclear weapons, but Iran.
You're talking about Saddam Hussein, that is Iraq.
Wait a minute. So the guy in Washington, D.C., White House doesn't defend the production of nuclear weapons? He doesn't?
No, but he does not use them on people.
And who used them?
But the guy was ready to use them, yes.
Please, I think we'll have another session where we don't bore our viewers and we get ourselves educated on global matters.
He actually used them at some point. Again, at the end of the day, who is not a terrorist? You know, when you look at the Americans, some of their leaders, you're thinking, these guys should be at the ICC.
Guys, come on.
For some of the crimes they have committed.
You're making this
I think after the Iraq scenario, some people needed to face the ICC. They have debilitated and
one thing is for sure,
Brian.
Brian. Let's give it to Western media and propaganda. And clearly, if you had ever doubted that media propaganda and Western propaganda has ever worked on anybody, look at yourself in the mirror and listen to what you are saying. Thank you.
What is the definition of a despot?
My description of a despot is not what the Americans think a despot is. In fact, if there is any despot, it's the guy ruling at the White House.
That would be Barack Hussein Obama, an African, at least by descent. Karamaji embarrassed me. This is according to the Attorney General. He was at the stands in court yesterday, and he actually looked mortified even yesterday as he did, put out his case. But
he has not yet gotten over it.
Well, he's in court. They sued the young man, and we wait to see, apparently for being a nuisance.
Since we have Friday on our hands here, let's get down to some cheeky news coming in from the Daily Monitor this morning. When you get yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor, your favorite pull-out magazine for the weekend is Scoop, and the interesting feature in here is decoding the type of people that make Kampala. You know, you've heard of the famous saying that Kampala Sibizimbe. Now we are getting down to break it down for you on who exactly or what exactly Kampala is. You've got different types of people. You've got deal crackers, wannabes, poor drivers, magical economists, party animals, players, hustlers, baller chicks, regular guys, the connected dudes, the corporates, category X, the nun, also known as Sister Glorias, and many others. And then there's an interestingly new satirical feature in Scoop magazine which says something about how to be. So today they are looking at how to be the old man of the clan. And the disclaimer here is that this is a humor column where the featured persons are looked at with a satirical eye. And therefore, the views expressed henceforth may not necessarily be the objective assessment of the individual. So clearly, the Daily Monitor is going the direction of some other TV show on another TV station that is always out to satirically denigrate some people who call themselves something in this country. They may not be. I mean, just like you call despots when they actually are not. Let's get down to the Observer this morning.
Old man of the clan, Sijui. As you get to the Observer, something worrisome here. Uganda tops child dependency ratio in the region. We have many child-headed homes because we see children giving birth to children.
No, but you also have parents that are actually absentee, or they are just there. They are just titular.
That's true. That's true. Absentee fathers, especially.
Omutanda, the Kabaka of Buganda, and some of his clan leaders are in a feud over a trip to the United States of America. Perhaps this is part of the extension of a Tofali collection. If you get yourself a copy of The Observer, you'll get to understand what it is about clan heads and Mengo getting into this titanic clash. We also know that United Nations report is warning on Uganda's population. We're just holding it. We have a census coming on later on in this year. That's when we'll be in position to know exactly the extent of our highly productive endeavors, at least between the sheets, if nowhere else.
And talking about the census, Daily Monitor here, there are officials who are saying, residents should be careful not to conceal any data. It is caution they're sending out. because we like to say ages we are not, to say I have 2 kids when I have 5, etc., etc.
Well, Mujazaza was here to explain to us what it is that the census is out to achieve, and I want to believe that many Ugandans who did watch that show will remember that the census is for our good. It will help the government do some planning. Whether or not they plan, that's theirs. Let's do our part and be there to be counted.
You know, I just hope people, especially those who go to work, you know, come back at 8 p.m. won't be victims of, say, thieves, because when I saw the attire for the officials, it's quite easy to work on, and, you know, the ID, like Kasiate asked him, you can work on it down there at NASA and go and pretend to be a census official. Come back with a fuso and pack everything.
It actually happened quite a bit.
Yeah,
the previous
people
census.
should actually
Not all over the
help
place,
their
but
maids and whoever stays at home to
you know, some maids are given strict instructions, do not let anybody into this place. So you come, they bounce you. And
yeah, some maids usually.
Well, I mean,
just come back and the house is
yeah,
empty.
a guy wakes up, tells his maid never to allow in anybody. The maid possibly didn't even eat from the same pot as the main person. The maid lives under a total dictatorial regime, and
What do
then
you
he comes
expect?
out to
Despot.
grandstand
Despot.
and calls himself a Democrat. Buganda Kingdom refuses to return Kochi titles. It is in the Observer this morning. Get yourself a copy. And yes, police faulted on suspects. What is it about police? Then we also see something about brutal security checks angering members of parliament. I mean, you're only
The
three of
ones
you
that
what? No, it's only 3 of you what? I mean,
so why are they complaining?
why are you complaining? I mean, you are checked once. So, yes. Another reason why members of parliament are not attending to parliamentary business at parliament is because of this debilitating traffic security checks.
So the reasons are many.
At the
football matches, security checks,
checks.
Conflicting loyalties, committees. What else? Those are 3.
Well, Ebola is Africa wake-up call, says the editorial of the Observer this morning. Quite very interesting insights there. Now, there is also the Minister without portfolio explaining why Northern Uganda does support the movement system.
6-month maternity leave unjustifiable. This is according to Workers MP Dr. Sam Nyamogi. I think I feel him here. If you're going to give 6 months of leave away, we need our mothers to breastfeed our children, but 6 months of leave, I don't know. I hope I don't sound callous.
As a boss, you don't account for it. You don't get
6
value
months
for
is
it.
half a year, for goodness sake. You know, so if you have about 5 ladies in your department, and they both, for one reason or another, decide to give birth in the same year.
Maybe workplaces should now start thinking of corporate daycares. Does ESCOM
some workplaces don't pay their workers well enough. Salaries, you know, come through late. And
no, as a workplace, for example, ESCOM, you just get space and make sure that all people come. Mothers bring their children to the workplace. You hire a few nannies, train them professionally, and then
Parliament has that. You know, they have a little daycare place down there. You know, Parliament has got very many amenities in there.
Have they worked on their salon?
They've got a gym in there.
They've got a gym.
Yes, in Parliament they have got a gym.
What is
happening? Talk about the salon. That was
what happened. They've got a daycare center in there. You know, to take care of the very productive members of Parliament. And all that. And well, on the other hand, I can also tell you that ESCOM Uganda does provide a tremendous working environment for its employees. We also have a gym at Chira that is state of the, we are actually upgrading.
What's wrong?
Well,
we're not seeing.
You're not seeing the results.
It's always here early morning.
No, like you said of Iraq. My body will also take shape after a long transition.
You did how long?
I see. You see my frustration with why it's taking so long for Iraq to democratize, even after being planted the seeds of high definition democracy for him. Anyway, so we do provide a very suitable working environment for our lactating mothers and all.
I think corporate daycares would save a lot, you know, for companies. Now people, and this 6 months leave is going to go on and on and on. These women activists are not going to give up. So as a workplace, just take care of that by bringing the daycare to the when it's time to breastfeed, the mother comes down because mothers want to exclusively breastfeed their kids.
How about the usual thing I've been seeing around pumping?
Expressing the milk. Maybe that can work. But you see, for me, my idea would be, for starters, pay your employees well enough. You know, somebody takes the mandatory 3 months leave, and they can decide, you know what, I can forego these other 3 months and have unpaid leave because after all, I've been paid well enough, so I can endure that.
No,
that
Joel,
kind of thing.
that is insensitive. Mothers out there will tell you, even if you are paying them 100 million shillings by the second, against them leaving their child. Some of them will say it is priceless. That I would rather, it doesn't matter how much you're going to pay somebody, give them time to spend and bond with their child.
That's the point I was making of, the 3 months actually expected of leave. Then I can actually forego another 3 months and stay with my child. I don't, because many of them rush back to work. Why? They need the pay at the end of the day.
Right. Well, there we have it. So the weekend is May, and we are going to start it really in an upbeat style. There's tremendous sports waiting for you over the weekend, and of course the usual soccer madness is back in this city, and the betting houses are getting filled up by those who want to call themselves the jobless brotherhood, and others who want to call themselves guys that can make a quick buck from a simple stroke of a pen. It's all up to you. Have a wonderful morning. Let's just join Mabel right now, standing by to share with us what's happening on the international scene. Mabel, do we have democracy seriously taking root in Libya? Have we finally seen free and fair elections in Iraq? Or am I hearing something about some prime minister somewhere stepping down, somewhere in Iran? Share with us what's going on in that part of the world.
Thank you very much, Simon. Indeed, the Prime Minister of Iraq, Maliki, quits to end the deadlock. He had refused to step down before, but now he says his stepping aside has ended the political deadlock in Baghdad as the government struggles against insurgents in the north. A big story there on the BBC page. Now, moving on to what's happening in BBC Africa, we have the Ebola virus. They're saying it is so much bigger than what we actually think it is, and serious measures have not yet been made. It has been vastly underestimated. There, a picture of people trying to kill the body. So you can still find out more about the Ebola virus on the BBC page. Lots there, as well as the story of the Spanish priest who died earlier in the week. Now, Robin Williams, according to a statement released by the family, was actually in the early stages of Parkinson's disease, and probably that is another reason he was depressed and took his own life on Monday. Now, why does the U.S. intervene militarily in Iraq but not in Syria? This is a very nice piece if you are interested in world politics here on the CNN page. And they are saying that, because of internal opposition, no nation protects the Islamic State. Whereas for Syria, you have China and Russia backing al-Assad. So if you do go into Syria, do know you're going to face China and Russia as well. Now, there's actually a chilling video here about the story we've been talking about all week, about Charles Brown, who was killed in Ferguson, Missouri in the United States, a black teenager who was yet to start a college training last week, but he was shot over the weekend. He's black and the person who shot him was white, just bringing back so many memories of Trayvon Martin. Now, there is someone captured something on a phone which actually shows that he seemed not to have been putting up a struggle. Now, the police are going to release his name later on today. Michael Brown protesters march in Missouri. This is on the Sky News page still about that American teenager. Vigils have been held in over 90 cities across the United States, and Barack Obama did call for calm earlier in the wake of Michael Brown's death. Quite sad there. You can see a bit of tear gas, and they're accusing the police of being very heavy-handed in the response to this. Now, an interesting story here coming in, something probably we'll talk about later with Isma on the sports segment. The FA are in a new move to boost Asian footballers. Apparently in the UK now, British Asians love football so much it has overtaken cricket. There is skepticism, though, that has greeted the FA. This is their latest initiative aimed at combating the chronic underrepresentation of British Asians in football. And I was trying to think, I don't think I know any Asian in British football other than the ones like the ones who are from South Korea, like Park, who used to play for Manchester United. Africa's last polar bear dies after months of grieving a long-time companion. This was a polar bear in South Africa, and it was put to sleep, as you would say. It suffered from chronic arthritis and liver complications. Now, on Reuters, Obama says the Sinjar siege has been broken and the personnel are to leave Iraq. I'm sure we have seen these pictures of helicopters dropping aid and taking people from that mountain that was under siege. But he says the siege has been broken and the military presence that is there will be leaving in the next couple of days. That's all we had for you. Morning at NTV will continue after this break.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
Hello, doctor.
Hello.
Are you feeling okay today?
I should be the one asking you that.
Me, I'm very fine. I'm just calling to check on you. You're sure you're okay? No headache, no fever?
But you, man.
Okay, doctor. Just checking.
Make a call for whatever reason. Call someone, call anyone, and change your life. Make a call and you could win 100 million shillings, a car, or a smartphone with free data for a year. Plus, win 2 free minutes every day.
Airtel. Together we can. Coming soon on NTV.
Dang, I suck at women. Because you can still think about her, but she's gone.
You should always approach a girl when she's surrounded by guys.
Attractive women are the most insecure. That's why they spend more time in the mirror than other women.
What if a needy people pleaser, desperate, forgettable, replaceable, boring guy?
And how to deal with the obstacle, her friend.
One thing I want is money.
Imagine.
I mean, how dare you come to me, all dirty and shabby, looking like a war truck from Afghanistan.
I've been given a challenge to go up to those streets, get enough numbers of very hot girls.
Excuse me? So what do you do apart from looking good?
0702.
0702.
Coming soon on NTV.
I just wanted to say thank you for telling me about the PA job at NFH. It's just that Q and I will be in each other's lives again.
I'll drop the act, Zuleika. I know exactly what you've been up to. You made your intentions very clear on Friday night.
How dare you come back here again?
Just pay me, damn it. I can't. Suck it up.
What's going on? I have to go to hospital.
If you think I'm going to let you be the power behind the throne, well then, you're not on the throne yet.
And here I was thinking there are no gentlemen left in this world.
Which way are you headed?
Well, that depends on you, birthday boy. Your place or mine.
Oh, this bitch.
Madika has expressed interest in the EIC job.
You're a shameless, arrogant excuse for a human being.
Onyumirwa ebyemizannyo jangu nkulage.
Does! And Adam Johnson, the boyhood Newcastle United man, historic, flying in the face of all football logic. A magnificent goal by Robin van Persie. Ferdinand! Everton lead at Old Trafford. Walcott, Giroud. Super Suarez. And that backs it up. And cracked it in. Checo finds the net in spectacular style. Penalty for Borussia Dortmund. And he scores.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Aro, give me 5 stress, 3 gonorrhea.
Kale muli wano, you think you've brought campasas. Omwana yena sobola gamba super deep. Si miaka jafe.
I'm like, I like my swag too. So what about it? Then she was like, I also like your accent. That village accent. Now.
Okay, what is inside for? When you got political tayaka, no muzanga na kajawa.
Katina kambuza. Mukavete, why are you crying? Nikagamba basajengeri je bafurumiza mu lukwago.
I think I'm Big Mitch. Larry Hoover. Put that in Kiprochichi's accent.
I think I'm Big Mitch. Larry Hoover.
Kampala has been voted in the past as one of the favorite cities for tourists, one of the most peaceful cities. That is something that is changing.
Kale Kaihura, the Inspector General of Police, and President Yoweri Museveni, their alliance, they can only crack down or stop individual strikes and individual demonstrations. But I don't think they can stop the growth of militancy.
No holds barred.
Besigye and Lukwago have particular grievances against the government, some legitimate, some misguided. What should the police do? Of course, the police has to intervene, A, to protect the power of President Yoweri Museveni and the NRM from disruption by Besigye and Lukwago, but B, also, never forget this, to protect those ordinary people whose property gets destroyed.
I want to ask that many think that they've actually been frustrated.
Opposition parties in Africa do not tend to be constructed around policy differences. FDC lacks a glue to hold its coalition of different power-hungry individuals together.
Incisive.
You see, the NRM is more divided internally than the FDC. The advantage with the NRM is it has political power.
Analytical.
I think that one of the best organized political parties in Uganda is the PPP, the People's Progressive Party with Ansari. This idea that everybody is peddling around the world that Africans are poor and they cannot contribute to their own political and social emancipation is crap. In fact, I think that the opposition parties in Uganda have to win an election in an unfair and unleveled ground.
Newsnight with Andrew Mwenda. You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Molondo.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning at NTV this Friday, the 15th day of August. We now cross over to Simon for today's big story. Good morning, Simon.
On June the 12th, the Minister of Finance in her budget speech did introduce a number of taxation proposals that included taxes on agricultural inputs and terminating tax exemptions on the agricultural sector. With effect from July the 1st, 2014, VAT zero-rated supplies, including supply of machinery and tools for agriculture and supply of seeds, fertilizers, pesticides and hose, removal of tax exemptions on agricultural loans, discontinuation of VAT, exemptions on supply of feeds for poultry and livestock, supply of agricultural and dairy machinery, and supply of specialized vehicles, plant and machinery services, and civil works related to agriculture took effect. This morning, we'll be discussing exactly what this has as far as an impact is concerned on the agricultural sector. Let's not forget that Uganda is an agro-based country, which, by all means and standards, should have some good incentives to promote and propagate the agricultural sector. Now, with me to discuss this very emotive subject is the President of the Uganda National Farmers Federation, Mr. Charles Ogang. Good morning and welcome to the big story.
Good morning.
And yes, we also have Siraji Kanyesije, the Assistant Commissioner at Uganda Revenue Authority, in charge of domestic taxes. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
You farmers are crying, are shouting with a lot of hue and cry over this new measure by government. To what extent is this affecting your operations as farmers? If we may start from there.
Yeah, the message was received with mixed feeling.
the message about removing of the tax that was, I mean, removing the imposing the tax, which was not there for a long time, was received with a lot of mixed feeling.
Share with us the mixed feelings.
And the mixed feeling was that this sector is a sector that has not yet been developed to the fullest as we expect it to be.
Wait a minute, what has been developed to the fullest that should be given VAT and years of agriculture shouldn't be? For all I remember, even before this country came into place, you were promoting and you were participating in agriculture. So if you say you have not developed as a sector, what do you expect to have developed? The corporate sector which just came to Uganda recently?
Let's look at the national budget of this country. 3% to the agriculture sector, as opposed to the Maputo Declaration, which every African government committed themselves that we shall give 10% to support this sector. Now, how do you consider the 3%?
Mr. Ogang, without going into the semantics and rhetorical figures and all that, so this 10% of the national budget to go into agriculture, to do what? Because for the life of me, I grew up seeing my parents engaged in some form of agriculture in one way or another. I don't remember at any one time them receiving something from government. They bought pesticides for themselves, they bought acaricides for the cows, whatever it is, they bought on their own. What should government do for the agriculture sector?
This
away from infrastructure, like making roads so that goods can move from the farm gate to the market.
One thing you should know is that agriculture worldwide is supported by government and it is subsidized. And that is the truth about the sector of agriculture. If you see in other countries where they have subsidized fertilizer, they have subsidized other inputs in agriculture sector for purposes of promoting production.
So that without cutting you some slack here,
yes.
I can understand that the Canadian prairies have been in existence for longer than this country possibly has been. They have been tilling wheat in there and depleted the quality of their soils. What have we been doing on our soils here in Uganda? For the most part, it is bush followed. Do we need subsidies on fertilizers where we've got fertile soils that when you put your finger in Ugandan soil, after 5 seconds, your nail will have grown? What subsidies do you require here in this subsector, which is largely disorganized? That you have individual subsistence farmers as opposed to huge organized cooperative farmers like we see in Canada, Denmark, and other places. Why do you want to put the cart before the horse? Why don't you first organize yourselves here, and then you can start clamoring for these subsidies that you're talking about?
The question is very clear. You should realize that we have been mining the nutrients in the soil. If you consider the sector of soil management, most of these areas, this region now, are producing below the expected production rate. It's because the soils have lost the nutrients and we have not been renewing by putting in fertilizers that's supposed to renew the
bad
production.
farming practices, because I'm sure the good farming practices are that you till one place, you leave it to follow next season, and then come back, it will have regenerated itself. Or you do mixed cropping, you have some legumes in the soil so that these legumes can bring in nitrogen and therefore bring some more fertilization.
That is true. With the growing population, there is no way you can leave a land to lie fallow. The population is putting a lot of pressure on the land.
Gang. I want to take you in a whirlwind tour of this country and you see how much land is being followed and wasted away. But away from that, let's get down to the impact of this new tax on agriculture. And I'm going to give just one food item, which is consumed largely in this country: chips. Let's get down the food chain of chips. A potato grower, Irish potato grower in Kabale. Now you're telling me that there's a new tax, 18% VAT on agriculture. How will that be translated to the cost of production for a farmer in Kabale who's growing his Irish potatoes? How will it affect the guy bringing the Irish potatoes to Nakasero market? How will it affect me who walks into Bon Appetit or any other fast food area to consume a plate of chips? Just put that into perspective for us.
Okay. Once tax is imposed, it does not affect a specific area only. It has a dimension that affects all the areas that are involved in the production area. For example, if a potato grower, an Irish potato grower from Kabale wants to transport the products to Kampala, he has got to meet the cost that has already been embedded in terms of transport cost, even in production, because the labor cost is involved. And once the labor cost is involved, you expect that the cost of production goes up. And once the cost of production goes up, there is no way it's going to remain with the net profit that it used to have without being faced by this increase in the tax.
But for Uganda, the people who are watching us from urban centers will tell you, for them, the cost of food is on an issue of demand. You walk into a market, demand largely based on weather patterns. You walk into a market like now, the other day on the weekend, I went to my local lady who sells me matoke and says, ah, boss, amatoke gabura, msana gubade munji, kati netoke ya mitwaro satu. Those of you who don't understand this dialect is, I went to the local lady selling matoke at my local state, and she told me now a little emaciated bunch of matoke is 30,000 when previously it cost 8,000, and her reason was that there has not been enough rain where this matoke is produced. She doesn't translate that in form of a new tax imposed on the agricultural sector. How are we going to move away from the fact that prices are determined not by season, but by taxes on us? Because you seem to be having a huge cry and hue, and yet we the consumers don't see an effect of tax on our consumption, but rather on bad farming practices and seasons.
No, as I had earlier on put it, that the agricultural sector has to be supported. And how do you think we can support this agricultural sector? For you to ensure production throughout the year, first of all, we need to have water for production, so that we don't cry that because of the weather, our production has been affected. If those sectors have been supported, we have water for irrigation, water for production, whereby a farmer is not affected because of the bad weather. The production is not affected because the season has not been fair enough. Then you cannot talk about the farmer will, of course. If the water is there, the infrastructure is developed, then the farmer will have all the reasons to make profit and to pay tax because the production is asked what he has expected.
Mr. President of the Uganda National Farmers Federation, may need to look very closely at who actually makes profits from agriculture. It may not necessarily be the farmer. Talk about the middleman, the guy who transports from the farm gate to the market. I'll now turn to the Uganda Revenue Authority Assistant Commissioner in charge of domestic taxes. There's been all this crying you of, yes, we understand you've got targets to meet. We understand that this country is in a serious deficit. We need money to keep it going, to give government to plan. But why should you go on to, well, this will be a topic for another day, but let's go down to agriculture. This is a sector that has been, for the most part, not been affected by your wanton taxes. This time around, you wake up and impose an 18% levy, VAT, on inputs. Not even outputs, but inputs. Doesn't that bother you as a body charged with collection of taxes, that you are stifling the growth of this country by taxing the very backbone that should be holding this country together?
Thank you, Simon, and viewers, again, good morning. First of all, I want to say that VAT is a consumption tax. And the purpose of introducing VAT was to facilitate value addition on the agricultural products. You may need to understand that unprocessed products from agriculture, there is no VAT. If you buy the Irish potato from a farmer in Kabale, you can't charge VAT. But that farmer needs a hoe, that farmer needs fertilizer, and all those are manufactured inputs. The moment you tell the manufacturer that he's not going to be VAT registered, it means that the VAT he incurs in the production will be part of the cost of making that input. And once you put in the VAT as part of the cost of making that input, the input becomes more expensive by the time it reaches the final consumer. The president has been crying that we must get value addition of our products so that we don't export raw materials. Get factories going so that we create employment and there is industrialization in this country.
Mr. Siraj Kanyesije, I don't know whether I understand you very well or you're speaking a jargon I possibly will take 2 years to understand in just one bit. How does an imposition of a tax where it wasn't guarantee growth in value addition, as you say? I am failing to get the nexus.
Let me take you through. See, if, for example, I'm making a hoe, and that I'm exempted from VAT in the supply of the hose, it means that
I, a farmer, Kasiate, buying a hoe from you,
yes,
I am buying it at 20,000 shillings net of VAT. There's no VAT on them.
There's no VAT.
There's no VAT.
Exactly.
Now you have said the 20,000 plus VAT.
It's not plus. First, understand. Where do I apply? I apply VAT on my cost of production of the hoe plus my margin. When there was no VAT, what happened is that the VAT I pay on electricity for the manufacturing is part of my cost. The VAT for transporting the raw material on the transport for the raw materials is part of my cost. The VAT for the clearing agent is part of my cost.
The VAT in water to
The VAT on water to cool is part of my cost. The moment I register, the VAT and all these inputs in the manufacturing the whole are washed out. My cost of production becomes lower. I would add a margin on a lower production cost. Even if I charge the VAT on 18% on the addition on the total cost of this production with my margin, the figure would be lower than when I was exempted.
But CJ, the reason you're getting this cry and hue is that possibly you do not prepare us, you do not educate us on this advantage of imposing a new tax where it wasn't. And isn't that a very bad modus operandi that you understand, you, Kamajugo, Aden Kajina and all others, Kate Shumba, you sit in a meeting, you understand these figures, then you impose them on us without first educating us. What happened to tax education so that people can appreciate a new tax and embrace it? It's supposed to be.
People discussed it. There is a presidential.
Which people?
Quite a number of people discussed it. I can satisfy participate in some.
Oh, it was the usual case.
No. That's not true. That's not true. However, we are trying all our best to educate the masses. We've been going around the country interested in paying taxes. Even when you invite them to come for a seat as something that is important.
You need to say that now is VAT does it. Assure him that them without VAT.
Okay, first of all, I need to say that it's a question of attitude, but figures will prove us right or wrong at the end of the day.
Oh, it's an issue of
country,
but should not increase significantly. And increase it. They will increase it. Yeah.
Benefits, rather than looking at between a caso, a liter of milk. And it's facts.
Okay, when I come back from there on Monday.
Maybe they are cheating you, but I have facts.
And now a liter is how much?
At least has gone around. Let's contribute from the farmer to the market.
They end anywhere. They always come to the end consumer. Exactly. The guy who's watching us with a cup of tea at a poultry between 400 and 700. You earn on themselves. They have.
I appreciate that in two events, that anybody who's getting a trading license,
but
like you said, if the people in agriculture don't remain, piece up your game.
Not anything to you as with they are teething.
There's one incentive I wanted to say. If you are buying machinery, you are
is a whole money and it's engaged in farming.
So want to discourage informality, we want to go formal.
Charles Ogong, to what extent are you moving from the agricultural sector that is cognizant, opposed to an individual scatter?
First of all, scaling their production level.
We don't see what the tax does.
This is going to
me.
I would
have a cup.
Okay, let's say I'm going to have a beer today. I am available on my little trading town in Akagate on Mbarara Yantonde Road. But there, it is possibly 3,500. So my local folk there will drink a cassoulet just like the one I'm taking, but there it will be 3,000. Here, the air, the ambience, and the company. So when you say there is a uniform tax across the board, I strongly disagree. I want to believe it is possibly where those marginalized people go to get their inputs. Also, if you are the kind that is using a hand hoe, you are not as affected as someone who is going to buy a tractor. But through your hand hoe mechanism, you should be able to put in place modalities to grow to a point where you're able to afford machinery.
Somebody using a hand hoe is already affected because the cost of a hoe has gone up. The cost of a kilo of seeds has gone up. The cost of fertilizer has gone up. And this is the guy who is using a hand hoe. Is equally affected. And when he goes to the market outside there, he's going to buy from the same market, which has already...
But after you have bought a hoe that is higher price now, seeds that are higher price in this season, when you're selling your maize at the end of it all, do you sell them at the same price you sold the previous consignment?
But do we recover VAT? A peasant farmer, maybe in Kabale or in a patch, do not recover this VAT. So we are saying, if you are imposing VAT, you first of all categorize our farmers. Commercial farmers can recover VAT.
Does that ring a bell to you, Kanye CJ? Isn't it a point that you should need to consider that since the subsistence farmer or any other farmer from a product, say maize, does not recover the VAT input they did when they were buying a more expensive hoe, a more expensive improved seed and the like?
See, so Simon, as I said earlier on, VAT is a consumption tax. The one who pays VAT is not a manufacturer, is not the middleman, the middleman who takes goods from the...
So the farmer is the consumer of horse?
It is the final consumer of horse, isn't it? So it's actually the final payer of this VAT. But what VAT does, the value chain of getting that whole, is to make the cost of bringing the whole to the final consumer lower. So that when even buying this whole, he buys it at a moderate price. Yes.
How do you therefore avert a situation where people are watching you and they know a new tax has been imposed, and for them without any serious empirical calculation, they say, bongezo musoro on the horse, so now my whole which was 20,000 is now 25,000.
Actually, because
I've seen this in taxis, you know, when fuel prices go up by 30 shillings, the man hikes his fare by 500 shillings.
You see, earlier on, Simon was the one who said prices are determined by demand and supply. That's theory.
Basic economics.
Basic economics. Now, a businessman, normally they take opportunities of certain events to
hoodwink,
to whatever you call it.
Should the consumer be protected by people like
now, but you see, for us as URA,
regulators,
we are not regulators of the business sector. Our honorable members of parliament maybe can put up a law, but remember, Uganda is a liberalized economy where
members of parliament,
yes, they can do it if they think it's necessary.
Save yourself the headache of relying on certain groups of people. Just continue doing your job. Mr. Ogon, continue organizing your farmers.
Simon, just get this. What we are doing, we are sensitizing, like I've already agreed with my friend here. We are going to go to his institution and talk to them, educate them. Because once you know, you can defend yourself. If you find someone who is overcharging you, you are able to ask. Like I went and...
And you say, you speak like you as URA, you are all knowing, you just go to impose on us and educate us. Do you take time off to listen to our concerns, internalize them, and possibly make amendments in your...
Yes, we do.
You do?
Yes, we do.
That's
like last year when the tourism people complained, the law was deferred for 1 year. You get it? But even when they are still complaining, but we agreed with them, let's defer for 1 year.
Then as we study,
or
as you make a cure and prepare for the
exactly, but whatever.
It could never have been concluded in a better way. This edition of Morning at NTV's Big Story. Yes, you've had the deliberations coming in from two antagonistic points of view, but which, as we close this program, seems to be converging to the point of mutual understanding, mutual respect, and mutual appreciation of the fact that indeed taxes are a necessary evil that should move this. Going with the president of the Uganda National Farmers Federation and Siraj joining us on this edition. Ray said for deliberations by giving my considered tip, even if it's short.
Watching. Transform with time. Gustavo will also go through changes. Gustavo.
Hey.
Inspiring. Stand up to be counted. Brought to you by It's Your Right.
Census is here. Be counted. The information you give is confidential and is only used for planning, policy making, and equitable resource allocations to improve.
Stop to be counted by.
Remember, the way you see it, the way you like it, is the way you get it from my kitchen to your kitchen.
In the past, it's one of the favorite cities.
Their alliance. They can only crack down or stop individual strikes and individual demonstrations, but they can stop the growth and misguided. What should the police do? Of course, the police has to intervene, A, to protect the power of President Yoweri Museveni and the NRM from disruption by Besigye and Lukwago, but B, also, never forget this, to protect those ordinary people whose property gets destroyed. FDC lacks a glue just together.
Incisive.
You see, the NRM is more divided. around the world that Africans win an election in an
Desire.
Being American by confiscating their properties, selling them, and telling them to meet government service delivery. Okay. And one of the last comments, Karuma Patrick, reduce the size of both Parliament and Cabinet and RDCs. Growth is not achieved by increasing, but by reducing expenses instead of creating a tax burden. All right, Morning at NTV is our Facebook page. You can also use Twitter at Morning at NTV and tell us what you think government should use as tax alternatives instead of taxing agriculture. But also an interesting debate. We have a budget of more than 14 trillion shillings. One family buys a hoe, one hoe in 4 years. So you'll be paying taxes in 4 years, after 4 years. Why are we wasting time on such a debate? Family, you don't actually matter. Well, we need you. You want to hide something from an African book, you need to write. How can we? It must be very early for you.
Not quite. We wake up early.
With you, Hilda, or even. Why is it abundance? Why don't?
Because people maybe the question.
Things together. Only read vital. And when it comes to reading for information, they say I can put my radio in my ears, you know, the earphones, and then listen to the material, or if I need information, I can listen to the news while I do something else. So people do not take time.
I can tell you that audio cables are, like for me,
doing that. Can even.
What percentage of people are
members of PEN International, people writing, yeah, because they are yeah? The other day I was listening to news and I was in Uganda and they said, and she was teaching. Oh. She's so we are focusing on women because of that history. Yeah, FemRight started to write need. Yeah?
Are women? Hilda said NTV. You can also tweet your now as FemRight. Are you engaging women?
Enough space and time to concentrate on their writing. Yeah. So, because it's mostly because of the gender roles. You know, at home you'll be taking care of your husband, taking care of your children, taking care of the house as well. Right. So at FemRight Center, go home and then carry on with your gender roles. So that's one of the things we are writers. I'll talk about the Readers Writers Club because it's one that I'm passionate about. It's a space for us, objective feedback. So when we bring those pieces to the club, which happens every Monday, 11:30, have grown from that Readers Writers Club. So our readers, and we have more women in the club, fortunately.
Is there a skill that you
but the major yeah, to hear importance in them, right, grow them. I think to put something down so you don't research, you speak to people, you need to find out how to how to make your information. Yeah, I think that could blogs. In publishing, we've been told that we are gatekeepers. We keep our people from publishing, but blogs are open space. No major issue why blog making their names.
There are some very good blogs that are reading.
Today, in the literature sector, for example, we depend a lot on. They have contributed works.
People are saying because it's expensive. Now, I know, so obviously, and others.
Yes, I really would like to say that we have a lot of other programs which go to Africa. We have a regional resident African women writers, which we African Women Development Fund, to run a regional work and to write, to respond to health schools now in Gulu and CKU Foundation. and we are to build. It's a you know?
I know well for you to start so now I can go there.
And a curse. Raised away from the curse to uncover his...
Those lands are mine. They're mine. I want those papers here. Look, big ones. I'm right here. Come on.
Please stop it. Solano.
Charms. A beautiful, mysterious woman who fights over Solano's...
No hard feelings, but I will get married.
Estrella Karu. And her destiny.
Mubonyumiro ebyemizannyo jangu nkulage.
The beat.
Follow the beat. Follow the beat. On the next day and night.
And you can imagine for those
drive
drivers
that getting out of my house.
Exactly. So you could probably be a rally driver, but it's a bit like probably if someone goes over 40. Someone would lose or win the rally there. And actually, the COC David Vitalo was telling me that at the point where you don't race well through the first two sections, you could win or lose the rally there. And it could be extremely unfortunate when most of the drivers go out in the first one or two sections. I remember being at the Pearl of Africa rally 2 years ago, and after the first two sections, Ponsel Wakataka was out, Leonard Sebuguzi was out, Duncan Mubiru was out. So it felt extremely empty, probably for many of the Ugandans being there. So you hope that the Ugandans are competitive to stay in the event until it winds up tomorrow afternoon.
All right.
Well, the second round of the basketball league is rolling away very slowly, but that doesn't seem to be the only concern. Fears seem to lie elsewhere.
The biggest concern, I think, is the weather. You can look even just overhead. The skies are so green. They're not the best for whatever condition. And that's because of they're using the YMCA court. And when it rains, they can't play games. So that's been a bit of a problem from last week. They couldn't manage to play on Sunday. There was a problem on Friday. Federation, I think, and the company really stay because later this is the kind of game once every other in the regular season. They never convert. I would say, I insist, weather permitting, because lately basketball's schedule has been dependent on the weather. Because some of the games that were supposed to in the week, so it's a bit. There's been a bit of a problem there in terms of the scheduling because of the weather.
On to the Kagame Cup. One more hurdle for KCCA. Are they going to sidestep APR?
They may not need to, because later today, APR could actually knock out Gor Mahia if they beat Gor Mahia in that Group B. And then, on secondary, is that Atletico could also knock out Djibouti Telecom, which would ensure that KCCA would be through. But the only reason...
they have 6 points.
They have 6 points. They have APR also have 6. I think, if you look at it without going into the math, KCCA are through. But there is a marginal difference that they could actually get knocked out, which would need probably a 3-4 goal swing for Gor Mahia against APR, which I can almost say is not going to happen. APR will be too smart being at home, and Gor Mahia seem to be a team in that zone when nothing can go right for you, and that could be a bit of a problem. So I think by the time KCCA walk out on Sunday against APR, I don't see two miracles happen in one venue. Nyamirambo water became wine. There wasn't. Lazarus didn't rise there. So you can't put so many miracles in just one place at one point.
What the top 4 are saying here to retain the trophy?
They haven't done Arsenal. Arsene Wenger has not managed. It's very hard to retain the league. That's the. It was probably because that's how poor they won the day. So, of Sergio Aguero. If Aguero season he gave him like last, probably last year was his
post Suarez era. starts at Southampton, okay, for Liverpool. But